Yossi Cohen was head of Mossad for 5 years. He stepped down in 2021 and today is head of SoftBank Investment in Israel. His new book, Sword of Freedom, is out now in English, and many ask themselves if the next step in public life in Israel for him will be politics. Yossi, we're very glad to have you on Unholy again.
Thank you very much for having me again. It was beautiful the other time, and I hope that was a rehearsal before this one.
we enjoyed last time, and we know we'll enjoy this time as well. I would want to open up, if I may, with current news, which is, of course, the Israeli airstrike in Qatar. Given the results, and even before the results, do you think that striking Qatar directly during a negotiation on Israeli hostages was a mistake?
I think it is. Well, I'm not absolutely involved in the details. I mean, I'm not receiving like a prompt intelligence pieces. I mean, before the attack or afterwards. Um, but I truly believe that being against or with Qatar these days, which is, I know it's a very important issue, very hot issue. I mean, in all sectors in Israel and outside of Israel, is something else. But definitely, I do not see any other negotiator rather than the Qataris these days. I know there is a lot of help from the Egyptian side, and of course the American administration here. Special Envoy Witkoff and his team are working intensively to create a kind of a deal or hostages deal, as we may call it. But I'm not sure that was the right move, not only because attacking terrorists inside Qatar, which is absolutely a good thing or the right thing to do for the state of Israel, to attack terrorism and to chase them all the way down. But I'm not sure if the location was perfect. And more than that, with your permission, I truly believe that there is a huge impact in the Middle East widely because of that attack. So Qatar as a country is a question. The attack as an attack is a question. But I think that the wider perspectives and the wider um, echo that will go into the Middle East, into all our friendly, super friendly companies and countries like even the Saudis and the Jordanians, Egyptians, and of course all the GCC. These that are members of the Beauty Abraham Accord, and these that are not yet members of the Abraham Accord. I think that it will echo all the way down there. And we'll have to see. There is a very important summit tomorrow. All of them will come to support Doha. Everybody will be there with a high level of empathy to the Qataris for a variety of reasons that I've received. I mean, the last 20 some hours. I mean, from our friends in the region saying um, it it will. I mean, it will create a kind of a probably very negative buzz against the state of Israel. So bottom line is chasing terrorists and somehow killing these that are trying to kill us under the line of rise and kill first. I absolutely agree with and I can support. Doing it in Qatar, I agree less. But I'm very much worried not about the Qataris only, but about the region entirely.
How much of is your view coloured by the fact that it seems as if it didn't succeed, this operation? It didn't actually get the people at the top level. Do you think you would have advised at the time, because we see that your successor, the current head of Mossad, opposed it in ahead of time because of the reasons I think you've said, and also because of jeopardizing a deal that may have been about to be done for hostages. But do you think it would be hard? Would you now be saying, look, the diplomatic cost was worth it because of the benefit of removing those people? Or is your judgment informed by the fact that it seems like it didn't work?
It may be. It may be. I mean, I think that in the end of the day, I mean, it was like not the absolute success that probably the planners had in their minds. Definitely not the government of Israel, the Air Force, and according to the official Prime Minister's declaration, the Shabak or FBI, sort of. But um, Jonathan, in an operation, I always refer that we have this kind of three different chapters that we have to deal with. The first one is, does the target receive, or is like um uh well placed for an operation like this, which is eventually a magnitude thing to do, a very important thing to do. Question number two, can we do it successfully? And can we bring our people back home? Normally, I mean, this time was an airstrike, so we don't really care about the missiles coming back home. But when you have operators on down there, I mean, this is a very important question. I mean, can we do it and can we do it successfully? And number three is the most important chapter of all, is what's going to be the impact of it, either a success or a failure. Normally, you do not prepare for a failure, but it may happen. It may happen because of collateral damage that was not really assessed correctly, which we do have a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure a little bit or not, but we do have some collateral damage in Qatar itself right now. I'm sure that was not the plan. And in light of that failure, unfortunately, I think that maybe we all feel that if you are going to pay prices, make sure it happens rightly, right? If there is a kind of an attack or kind of a whatever operational deed, something that you want to do, I mean, somewhere, somehow, you have to make sure that you do it successfully, and you have to make sure that even under a huge success, you're ready as a country to pay the prices. And I'm not sure what was the calculus, I mean, over there. I mean, what was the comp that were like brought into the government's table to make sure, okay, let's say we did it rightly, what do we get? Let's say we did it wrongly, what do we get? But we'll get anyhow. So you'll get the dirt, I mean, no matter what. But yeah, I can feel the urge of doing it. I can totally agree if remembering the time when I was National Security Advisor and we had a very long round of violence, as we used to call it, with Hamas uh, during the operation that we call Protective Edge, Tzuk Eitan in Hebrew. And we wanted to have a ceasefire. I mean, the government wanted to do that. I mean, because of many reasons, we were trying to stop, the Hamas rocketing the state of Israel directly. And what they have received from the Hamas leadership in Doha, mainly by Khaled Mashal at the time, do not stop. So the ground in Gaza really wanted to do that, while the opposition of any kind of an agreement with the state of Israel, even if it was under the mitigation of the Egyptians and with all international, bodies that could give them guarantees that we will withdraw from Gaza at the time, um, they didn't for a while, and then we had a feeling at the time that if to try to create something that suits the Israeli strategy in Gaza, we can't let these that are living in whatever the golden arena in Doha, I mean, in 7-star hotels, and being very spoiled by them, being so safe outside of Gaza. And probably, not that I'm in the details, probably that was the same story. I can guess that the state of Israel really wanted to get a hostages deal, and that the leadership outside of Gaza disrupted it. And that was the case, or probably, maybe, I don't know, I guess that was one of the reasons, I mean, for the state of Israel, I mean, to attack in Doha.
Yeah, the question is, what are the chances of getting a hostage deal now after this kind of attack? But I do want to maybe take our conversation back and use some of the things that you write in your book. And interestingly, you describe, and we should say this, top security echelon in Israel as being risk averse. Specifically, I think we can say the IDF and perhaps also Shin Bet. And you describe how you, as head of Mossad, bring these sort of ideas that are more, initiatives, more sort of taking control and trying to attack, or preemptive strikes. And little by little, you are sort of deterred to the extent that you're saying to the Prime Minister, I'm not bringing these ideas anymore. Is part of that risk averse? I think it's pretty clear that you also think that that is part of how we got to October 7th.
Yonit, I can't really connect it, I mean, to the October 7th, I mean, because I'm not sure that this is something that I had referred to in my book, but I did refer to things that had happened, I mean, in the closer region of ours, like Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, and sometimes in Iraq, and of course in Iran, that the pushback, I mean, from other, I mean, bodies in the state, inside the state of Israel's I would say, local arena were happening again and again and again. So, and this is something that you see. I mean, if you go back to the history, I mean, to the close history, I mean, you don't have to go deeper into 2006. But let's calculate, I mean, or let's communicate, I mean, between us. I mean, last 10 years in Lebanon, Hezbollah, what have we done? I mean, there is, in comparison to where Hamas is, in comparison to their capacities that they have built up for longer than, I mean, almost 20 years now, Hezbollah is much bigger threat to the state of Israel. So why is it, I mean, to our understanding, or to the Israelis' understanding, or to the world's understanding, that Israel did not disrupt what Hezbollah has planned for us? I mean, for the last 20 years or so. And the reason is, as I said in Hebrew, himanut is the risk reverse, and something that we're trying to don't do. And my criticism goes, I mean, online when it happened, right? I said blankly, I mean, to the prime minister, to the chief of staffs, to the head of the IDF intelligence forces, I mean, somehow to others, that said, no, 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 we can't do. Why is it that we cannot operate? Because of what was invented wrongly on our side as mutual deterrence. And I said, I mean, have you ever read the James magazine or recently? Did you see the size of the Israeli army in comparison to the size of where Hezbollah is? What do you mean mutual deterrence? Who is deterred here? Are we deterred by Hezbollah? I mean, can you listen to yourself? I mean, clearly, and say, I thought that's a normal thing. And I said, no, the state of Israel is so much stronger, and we can't let them build what they do. And I offered again and again and again operations inside Lebanon Hezbollah. And I offered again and again and again operations all over the way. Yes, as I said, I know it's not easy, and I know it's not easy to digest what I say, because I think the region understands that now, when the state of Israel is up and awake and will, I would say much more courage and as it was in the past. I mean, we have we're, I would say, can you say braver than we'd been, much more brave? I mean, in as we'd been in the past, because we'd been forced to, and now we'd been proven to ourselves that what I said before was absolutely right. If we've just
Yeah,
taken a decision,
yeah.
okay, so we have 95% less Hamas and close to 95% less Hezbollah. So why haven't we done that earlier to that?
Yeah, I was going to say nobody would say that the current setup is risk averse. There's been much risk taking in the last year or so. It's been very different. Look, if the past was any guide, by now there would have been a state commission of inquiry into what happened on October the 7th. There hasn't been one. So instead, in terms of understanding and accountability and responsibility, we're required to turn to people who've been right at the heart of the security decision making, people like you. What's your assessment of the question Yonit asked about responsibility for October 7th? Does it lie with the institutions, the army, the domestic intelligence agencies? Does it lie with the person with whom the buck is meant to stop, the prime minister? What's your view?
Okay, I mean, first, I think that these that had been already taking responsibility are out there loud and clear. Mainly the chief of staff, Herzi Halevi, and the head of Shabak, Ronen Bar. Ronen Bar, they're both out there saying that they take the responsibility and they take the full blame of what has happened. And unfortunately, I have to agree with that. Either domestic or international mistakes were not taken. So I think that the state of Israel um, was wrong. I mean, in what we did. I mean, of course, with Hamas prior to October 7th. And of course, I mean, proved to be wrong, because we had been under a kind of a concept, as we call it now in Hebrew, or the conceptia, that with a kind of a split in between the Palestinian Authority and the Hamas in Gaza, we will create a local responsibility for Hamas to keep them low and down, meaning that they will not create a kind of another round of violence.
So what I'm hearing is Ronen Bar, Herzi Halevi, and the Conceptia, but the person you're not naming is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, of course he is, and I said it. I said it. I mean, openly. I mean, even the last week. I mean, with Dana Weiss and then Yediot Achronot and other interviews. And I referred to that. I think that in the first weeks of the war, because I was asked. I mean, and do you believe that the prime minister has responsibility? Of course he does. I mean, he is responsible. I mean, for everything that happens under his under his time. I mean, and what we call it, like we call it ministerial responsibility, right? If you even if you're not okay, the head of the organization. I mean, this is your ministerial responsibility. That was the version that I had been educated accordingly, right? I mean, in my past. So I do think that he is responsible for that. And what I offered him, since he is um one of our whatever strong democratic system. I mean, the only way to translate his responsibility to reality is another round of elections, the sooner the better, which is not happening. I mean, unfortunately. And this I offered, and I called the prime minister openly. I mean, for him to call elections and to give us, the Israeli citizens, the right to choose or to re-choose. If we like what he did, or if we dislike what he did, it will be translated into the into this election system. But he never did, and I assumed that he would not.
Can I be the conspiratorial Israeli here for a second? I mean, who else can be in this conversation? And ask this. It does seem like the music of your critique against Netanyahu has waned a bit, that you're less critical of him today than you were, say, a year ago. And many would say, I think, in the Israeli sphere, that the reason for that might be your understanding that the way to become prime minister in this country has to go through the Likud, and the person who needs to give you that entry ticket into the Likud is Benjamin Netanyahu. Does all
He will
that
not
make
give me an
sense?
entry. No, but I mean, knowing him, he will not give you an entry to the Likud. I mean, this will. I was invited to the Likud just after resigning from my previous job
Yes.
as the head of the Mossad, and Bibi Netanyahu offered me to be his minister of defense.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was on during my cool-off period, and I wanted to do other things in my life. That's why it couldn't take place, and I never considered going into the Likud since.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a member of the Likud. I'm not a member of any party. I mean, I never registered at the Likud. I was never invited to be part of the Likud, and we're not in touch. Have to admit. I mean, I'm not. I mean, he's not calling me. I'm not calling him. For longer than a year and a half now. It doesn't look like relationship. I mean, to me right now, it looks like as if my criticism goes better, I would say, to these that were my counterparts, and to these that I feel what I would have felt if, God forbid, this would have happened to me. I would never go to the prime minister and tell him, come on, this is your responsibility. This were your orders. No, no way. Because no one told the IDF, please, I mean, according to uh, all concepts, okay, please, I'm saying it, I'm sorry to be cynical a bit, please make sure that the borders are not well guarded. Okay, please make sure that you see nothing in your intelligence. Please make sure that you will go on a cool-off periods. How do you call it? Hadmama, we say in Hebrew. I mean, they take very long vacation during the holidays. I mean, Pesach and Sukkot. Please make sure that you do not have enough intelligence. No way. No way. And that's why my heart bleeds when I see the result of lacking of defense and security to our citizens based on the capacities they have. And like if a thing like this had happened to me, again, God forbid, chas v'chalila, as we say in Hebrew, I would never go either upwards or downwards to my subordinates and tell them, that's because of you guys. Or I would say to the prime minister, that's because of you, prime minister. No, that's my responsibility. I've been paid, I mean, to make sure that the state of Israel will be ever secure. And if I didn't do that, that's my responsibility. So it's easy for me, or easier for me, I mean, to discuss operationally and to discuss
Yes.
intelligence and to discuss proper and direct responsibility rather than say ministerially, yes. I mean, it's his. And where is Gallant? Gallant is not responsible. He was the Minister of Defense. I mean,
No.
I
Netanyahu is
see
the
that the
last man
audience,
standing. Yeah.
I mean, not only that, but I see the temperature around these. I mean, the audience would love to guard these that are countering the prime minister today. Okay, and I don't do that. Okay, I say there is responsibility, but it doesn't mean that I will go cleaning, right? I mean, the others from theirs,
I
mainly
understand.
because
No, there's
they've taken
plenty.
this responsibility.
Look, there's a large amount of blame to go around. There's plenty of it, but some of it, I think, obviously should belong with the prime minister. You are quite critical in the book of him. You say he has never had, quote, chemistry with regional leaders. You say it does not help that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his ministers are poor at communication. I think that will surprise people who think that, Netanyahu is a master of television and so on. And then you say Bibi is never
Master
built...
of television is not master of a relationship. It's a different thing,
Well,
right?
I was going to say, because you then say Bibi has never...
I'm not, by the way, I'm not...
Let me just read this.
Yeah,
Bibi has
please,
never
Jonathan, I'm
built...
sorry.
Sorry, just because this will be striking, I think. You say Bibi has never built an empathetic relationship with the Israeli people. I wanted to hear you say more about that, what you mean. But I also wanted to ask you very directly, given what happened in Doha, whether you believe this prime minister wants to end this war.
I'll start with the first question, of course. I mean, I think that to my judgment, he did not create a kind of a sympathy in between him and regional leaders. I mean, it's a fact. I can't go into much details, but some won't see him. And they, I mean, in a given time, I was the one to take responsibility for our relationship with the King of Jordan per se. I think it is mentioned in my book because the prime minister nominated me to do that because their relationship were so poor. And by the way, both, I mean, to my understanding, can do better relationship. I mean, but this is the only case that I can refer to without going into the details. But he gets a lot of personal criticism from regional leaders too. And I it's not only my perspectives. It is not only my view and my whatever. It is not only judgment. It is based on facts. Some have told me I will never see him in my life again. And I think that, yes, I mean, to my humble judgment, and I'm not a television guy, I'm not a star like he is. I never studied it. I'm just me, and I say what I believe in, and I don't see myself as a star in communication. But I don't see him penetrating, I mean, correctly the heart of the Israeli societies anymore. I think that there is a certain sector that believe that he could still run the show, and a wider sector that believe that he cannot, because he hasn't entered, okay, their hearts. It's not that I can agree or disagree to that whatever habits of ours. I mean, for the total split in between these that are with Bibi or these that are having only one thing, which is anything but Bibi. I don't like it. I don't like that this is something that led Israel, I mean, to the right direction that we need so much today, so badly today.
But then Jonathan's second question was about, does Netanyahu want to end the war, you think, in Gaza?
I think it does. I think it does. I think he wants to complete the war. I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, because of many aspects. I mean, first, I mean, the war is deadly, right? I mean, we've just paid another huge price of 4 young soldiers last week. And you see their faces, and you see their funerals, and you see the mothers and the fathers and the sisters and brothers and friends and colleagues from the army, and it breaks their heart. And it is super hard to, as a country, to maintain that longer. I mean, we will be there if needed, but I think that it's a huge price that we're paying every day. The other prices that are probably a bit less important, but they are at the heart of the state. It's the war is expensive to the state of Israel, not only that it affects its economy, but its international arena as well has been hit by that, right? So we receive a lot of fire from the international community, even though we had been doing the right stuff after October 7th. And as always, I mean, the state of Israel has a credit line, but super small and super short. And we have to be aware of that. So the shorter the war would be, even I can guess for Bibi, the better it is for him and for the state of Israel entirely. So I can't even imagine, even though conspiracies and everything, like Yonit said, I mean, she's better than us, but we can invent some conspiracies ourselves.
It's not even a
I
conspiracy. He has a coalition that doesn't want to let him end the war. Ben Gvir and Smotrich
Okay,
threatened him.
but knowing him controlling the coalition, I think that he can do mostly what he really believes that is the right thing to do. And yes, like always, I mean, coalition is a coalition. I'm not sure that the best thing that I can offer to the creation of new states, if they will be creating themselves in the world, to go on like exercising our own parliamentary system, which is hard to control. I mean, you see that in England, in the UK, I'm sorry. You see that in France. I mean, third government falls apart. I mean, just last week. You see that um, in Italy, you see that all over the place. I mean, when we do run in Germany, right? I mean, they keep on changing. I mean, things that we had like relay on what we call the stability around the prime minister. So now we cannot. I mean, we do have Starmer, but for how long? I mean, we did so many before him. I think it was like 4 consecutive prime ministers that never kept themselves in the Downing 10 longer than whatever, a few months or so, right? So this is the price that we have to pay. I do not cherish this kind of system, but I don't see any power in Israel that would change what we call the Shitat HaMimshal. I mean um, the system of our rulement and our sovereignty. And this is something that goes into the bones of how can you really rule, or can you really control your even in between vision, ideology, and practice, when you have a coalition that you depend so much upon and that are threatening you every second day that they will go apart if you don't do what they want. And I've seen that, even working with as a head of national security. I mean, you see that on daily basis. They just enter the room and say, okay, we do understand that they're going to take this kind of decision, and we counter this decision. So if you don't do it our way, we're not sure if we will be here any longer. And it's so hard to control like that.
There's a story you tell in the book about running into a fellow Israeli. I think you're in an airport. He's left of center, unlike you, and he says you should be prime minister one day. And you respond that you laughed, thanked him for the compliment, and said, "So, are you coming with me?" That implies that you are on a journey to that office. Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not, full stop. I'm not going into politics. I mean, for the coming years, I think. I'm not. I'm just referring to that point that was a very sensitive point in my, um, I would say, ability to assess my future career. It was like, I think after October 7th, everybody was bleeding in the state of Israel. I mean, everybody really wanted to have a change. And I got approached by many, probably not enough. We're not by too many. And this guy, like many others, this kind of discussions happened so many times, even last night in my house, in Modi'in. I mean, less than 24 hours ago. I mean, we had a bunch of friends, and they said, "Okay, I mean, what's your plans?" I mean, some said, "Please do." Some say, "Please don't. We love you," or "We care about your family." And some are indecisive, or some are going into this and into this thing that they say, okay, you can do that, but we're not coming with you. Why is it? Because in current days, and I don't think it is something specific or uniquely in the state of Israel. I mean, the worlds of our current media and the social media to follow, and the uh, uh, I mean, each one is that creating a kind of a atmosphere around either politicians or future politicians, is a terrible thing to burden. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice, I think, more than it ever was in the past. And people do not want, I mean, I receive this kind of answers. I do want, but he or she will not let me do that. More than that, people are telling me, why should I do it? Do you think I don't like my life? Now they're going to chase me, I mean, to whatever, to the grave somehow. I mean, see what has happened, I mean, here in America, with the unfortunate case of Charlie Kirk. And why was he assassinated by the 22 years boy? Because of what? What does he know
But
about him?
Yossi,
All
the
right. I
US is
mean,
not
so
Israel. You're saying full stop, you don't want to go into politics. You mean 2026 or you mean forever?
I don't know forever. I mean,
Mhm.
we never say nothing forever. But I can close to definitely tell you that the motivation is still there. The heart is still bleeding. Um, I think that I can contribute to the country, but I don't think that the country wants us to help itself, and unfortunately so. And many good people, and many honest and Zionists and good Israelis would claim the same. They say, yes, I can help, but I will not do it because they will kill me. I mean, not only literally. I mean, some will,
Yes.
um, but um, but you know, but the image that you'll have is super tough. I mean, to carry.
No, we understand that. And obviously, it sounds like you're ruling it out for the next election cycle, but not forever. And that's one reason why people are very interested in what you have to say and they're interested in your new book. You write in there, I, for one, have never taken my eye off the prize, the transformational impact of a normalization agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Though blocked by war, it remains a gateway to the future. Normalization with Saudi Arabia, the price for that is normally understood to be Israeli acceptance of a Palestinian state. Is that a price you would be prepared to pay?
Knowing the Saudis, I think quite well, if I may, knowing their leadership quite well, if I may, the Palestinian issue will not be number one obstacle between us and them, because of many things. And you know what? Even more after October 7th, when they saw in their own proper eyes what does Palestinian mean, who is a Palestinian, and this kind of very tough questions have been asked on their side. Who is a Palestinian? He is the guy who wants to have normalization with the state of Israel located in Ramallah, Jenin, or Gaza City. And there are huge differences in between the three. Some would say, this is what we like, this is what we want. I just met, I just realized that there is a new book coming out from Mr. Rob Malley,
Mm-hmm.
whom I know from the American administration, and Mr. Ara, as we call it. I mean, Aja, they call it
Yes.
in English.
About the
And
two-state
they
solution being a defunct idea.
exactly,
Yeah.
but the two-state solution being buried. The idea of two-state solution. I mean, I read what they say. I mean, I'm going to read the book entirely. If they will buy mine, I will buy theirs.
Quid
We have
pro
to
quo.
reciprocate, right? Yeah, I know. So and you listen to these guys that have been like Rob Maria, whom I know. I mean, working together with me. I mean, in the American administration at the time, and Ara, which I don't know, but I can appreciate his views. I mean, from the past, both are saying, I mean, clearly today, I mean, the Palestinian state is no longer there. I mean, we can bury the idea of Palestinian state. Why is it? Is it because the state of Israel have buried it? I don't think so. I think that the not happening annexation of the West Bank, okay, this is to show the world that we are open for negotiations. Why haven't we annexed, I mean, the Palestinian territory, I mean, as we gave them, I mean, in during Oslo agreements and stuff. So when we have, I think, wrote the way to the Abraham Accords, and I read it again a few months ago, I mean, to understand the potential of how do we get above this hurdle without laying, okay, any, I would say, non-serious declaration or statement saying, yeah, a Palestinian state must, without being any potential being grabbed to that statement. And I think that the Saudis will be, I guess, I know, exactly there. They would say, okay, let's write in in front of us, that the Palestinian issue is still there, that we have to reconsider, negotiate, start not blaming or blaming anyone on the other side of not doing it, but let's write in front of us that this is something that we'll have to deal with. Um, and let's say they did declare. Let's say the world will declare tomorrow. I mean, there is a UN Security Council, or maybe the General Assembly. I mean, that will sit next week. I mean, before the end of the month here in New York, and they will say, you know what, we do accept the existence of a Palestinian state. Okay, where exactly? When? With whom? I would love to see a team of negotiators, and I was part of the negotiators. I mean, I think that Aga and Rob Mali in their book, I mean, they refer to Yitzhak Molcho. We were the same team,
Mhm.
okay, negotiating a potential reopening of negotiations between us and the Palestinians. I mean, this is only what Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted, all right, to try under Secretary Kerry. I'm sorry if the answer is too long,
No,
but
it's
I don't see anyone on our world understanding that differently than ours, saying, okay, let's declare that we are in favor of the Palestinian state. Okay, please declare. Some Israelis would agree to that. Some would say, no way, not anymore. Even part of the leftists would tell you after October 7th, Palestinian state with whom? Where? The big questions that I've asked. I mean, under which leadership?
So you think
Hamas?
that is not an obstacle? That is not a part of the Saudi deal. That is an obstacle. Why aren't we seeing it happen now?
I think that there are two major reasons for this not happening right now. One is, I mean, we have to complete the war in Gaza. I don't think that we can sign agreements, peace treaties, as we call them, when there is a war happening. It's like, I don't know why. It's like I don't know. It's like other country that is conducting a war will create a peace treaty while conducting a war with a
Mhm.
third party, right? We can't do that. Okay, then of course Saudis will never agree to that. Number two, I'm not sure if the American insurances um, were giving totally to the Saudis to their request, because it's not only the normalization in between the state of Israel and the Saudis, it is an absolute normalization between the Saudis and the American administration as well, which I believe is happening right now. I mean, the relationship between Saudis and America is so much better. I mean, and I can see it across the board. So it's a triangle that has to complete itself. But I think that the sequence would be complete of the war, hopefully in hostages deal that will complete the war, a kind of a whatever understanding of a longer ceasefire in Gaza, and then sit together with the Americans and the Saudis, I mean, to rewrite or to update the forthcoming um, normalization between us and them.
We have so much to talk about, but we're mindful of your time. I do want to talk about Iran, which was such a big project of your portfolio. As head of Mossad, you under your jurisdiction, Israel infiltrated the Iranian nuclear archive. You were one of the planners of indeed what we saw, the breathtaking operation by Israel in June of this year. Basically, two questions. One, just a personal one, how frustrated were you that all this happened when you were not head of the Mossad those 12 days in June? But also, more seriously, perhaps, Iran is going to retaliate. I mean, that's pretty obvious. How prepared is Israel for the next round of this direct war between both countries?
Okay, I mean, first I can't be frustrated because I feel like a coach on that sense. I was a player and I was a coach at the same time, and I see my subordinates doing exactly what they were trained to do, to prepare that war. And the preparation of this attack in June 2025, it started something like 20 years ago. And at the days of Meir Dagan, rest in peace, I mean, the chief of the Mossad, who had directed us differently than the others, that we have not only to see what Iran's doing, i.e. intelligence, but we have to disrupt what they see. And that was the point that we have started to put Iran in the center of our maps target. Um, And we have invested a lot in that. So even when I was a little bit younger than today, or when I was chief of the Mossad, a lot of efforts were directed into collecting much more intelligence, intrusive ones, from within the Iranian all societies. I mean, the nuke, the MOD, the missiles. I mean, everything that we have agreed in between ourselves that could create a kind of a potential existential threat on the state of Israel. And more often, I mean, now when we see it, we have to disrupt it. And sending many operatives, as we call them, blue and white, it's not only agents, but really Israelis, to the soil of Iran. I mean, to operate and to do beautiful things. I mean, for the state of Israel and somehow for the security of the world. It happened since that intensively. I think till last month. Um, and I'm very proud of what we did. And not only that. I mean, if you go back to, as you called it, I mean, the risk reverse, the Himanut, and when we say people were very proud. I mean, till recently, before the attack, that they have countered the government of Israel of attacking Iran. Remember, these are said, we went all the way. Some have been even like told us, I mean, behind the scenes to the American administration, tell them, be aware of the Israelis. I mean, the way they may attack Iran, and America started to tell us, please do not surprise us. And the things that we've shared with them, things that we thought that could be on our time. I mean, something that has eventually to destroy the nuclear capacities, that never happened. I don't think that anyone regrets today that we've invested so heavily in Iran, so to make sure that when the day come, and it did, we will destroy and stop Iranian nuclear capabilities, not forever. I'm sure that's going to be the second question. So what's going to be the damage assessment? I think that the damage is huge. And I think that, to my knowledge, Iran does not enrich any more uranium right now. And more than that, there is a kind of a new concept in Iran itself. Because if you go again back to where we've discussed of the risk reverse, and we said a mutual deterrence, Iran will retaliate, as you said. Okay, but the state of Israel is stronger than Iran, and proved to be, of course, backed by the USA. And I always told, even publicly, that Israel will never do such a thing without a huge American back. And we received it. Not only that we received it in the back, we received it in the front, while the B-2s have just completed what our capacity could not. And the concept in Iran now, like in Hezbollah, the state of Israel is quite serious about preventing us from going into nukes, and they can come again, because mutual deterrence, the false of our statements, okay, does not exist anymore. It is not mutual. We can come, we can take your air force, we can take your capacities, we can attack you, we can take your leadership inside their beds, we can destroy your nuclear sites, we can stop enrichment, and we can do more if needed. So we are not deterred by you, either Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and more. Okay, I think it changes the entire equation to the place I wanted to be and to the place I love seeing today.
The book is Sword of Freedom by Yossi Cohen. We are very grateful to you for speaking with us for Unholy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. We can go for hours, I know, but you're so busy. You're so busy.
I know you might be a
It's us
tad
who are busy.
busier, but thank you. Thank you, Yossi.